Welcome to the Women in Business radio show with Sian Murphy, connecting women in business around the globe.
Hello and welcome into the Women in Business radio show studio. We have got a brand new format, a brand new show. So obviously I've got no idea what we're going to be doing. So if you thought it was bad before, welcome to the new bad. So we have in the studio brand new co-host Kay Best. Welcome into the studio, Kay.
Hiya.
Kay, and Kay, tell us just what you do. We've just written this out, haven't we? Because I'm going to say Kay does so much. If we just said, Kay, what do you do? And we just left her to it, we'd be at the end of the show and we'd just have to leave the studio. Yeah. She does an awful lot. And we've managed to narrow it down a little bit, haven't we? Go on, tell us, because I can't see it.
Yeah, pretty much. A spiritual practitioner, consultant and trainer.
She does a lot. Now, this show is going to be brought to you. It's being brought to you by Cafe in the Car. Cafe in the Car runs events, it runs courses, accredited courses. It shows people how to be spiritual, how to use intuition in their business, and it's an evolving project, so I'm really not too sure what it's doing at all, to be honest, but never mind, these things happen. It will get there. So also in the studio with us today we have Emma Bancroft, who is a holistic practitioner, and Emma's going to be joining in the conversation. We're going to hear a little bit about what Emma does, so we can put her into some sort of pigeonhole, because we do like to do that. Very, very briefly, and she can join in the conversation with us. And so what's the show about? It's about, well, all sorts of things, really. I think it's very difficult to actually narrow it down, but let's give it a go. It's about using your intuition. It's about building spirituality into your business. It's also going to be about running a spiritual business. So some of the problems that may come when you are a holistic therapist, and you could be a therapist it could be a massage therapist, it could be a hypnotherapist. It doesn't really matter. What I'd like is for this show to sort of hit everybody in a particular way, that they can bring something useful from it. If you have left a corporate career and you've started up perhaps being a holistic therapist later on in life, as an awful lot of people have, I think sometimes it's a career that people come to because they've learnt what they don't like and they found what's helped them in their life, and then it's a route for them to move forward and bring that to other people. So what are we going to do in this regular slot? This slot is going to be on the third Monday. No, it's not.
No, it's third Thursday.
So it's started already, isn't it? Look. I can't even get the days right. We only have a show on Thursdays, and I can't even sort that out. There's only 7 days in the week. You think I'd be able to get it right, wouldn't you? It'll be on the third Thursday of every month. And what we're going to do is we are going to look at some of the predictions is the wrong word, Kay, isn't it? Some of the intuitive tools. Yeah. So that's quite good, isn't it? I'll tell you what, if I'd have come up with that before the show and written it down, I've been quite pleased with myself. Some of the intuitive tools that you can tap into, that you can use to guide your business and guide your life moving forward. So we are going to have things like a tarot card of the month. So we're going to look at what is the tarot card for December, what is the number for December, looking at numerology and how. So there's nothing magic in these. I'm going to say that now. These are intuitive tools that anybody can use. We're going to be looking at those so that you can perhaps bring some guidance and direction into your business as you move through the next month. We're then going to have a discussion on cosmic ordering, which I think, would I be right in saying, Kay, that very often people come across that as it being the law of attraction?
Yeah, it's the same thing.
So we're going to be talking about, that sounds so much better though, doesn't it? Yeah. Cosmic ordering. I quite like ordering. It's like going in and saying, I'll have a bottle of wine. Yes, I'll have 2 bottles of wine. I know exactly what I'm going to get. Yeah. It's not quite as wishy-washy as the law of attraction. But I think it's just that it's sitting there and hoping something, will arrive. So I quite like the ordering side of that.
Yeah,
and I'm sure I'm going to be disabused. It's not I can't actually just sort of sit there and send out my stuff. But we will see. So we're going to be having a discussion about cosmic ordering, finding out what it's about, how you can use it to help your business, and I think we're going to do a little bit about visualisation, aren't we?
Yeah.
Right.
That can all come in with the cosmic ordering side.
Okay, right then. So, Kay, No pressure. Over to you. What is, can I say something really naff? I'm going to say, what's in the cards for December?
What's in the cards for December? We're looking at, we're really looking at more astrologically, really. We've just yesterday gone into Sagittarius star sign now, which is a fire sign. And a lot of people do, if you think about the way people act with their signs and that, earthly, water, whatever, you generally can see where they're coming from with that. So obviously with fire, they can be all over the place, but they can also be quite composed as well in different situations, and be very passionate about what they're doing and wanting to take things a lot further. Pretty much. I think that's pretty much it. Full of energy, that kind of thing.
So, so how does that, having a look at that, if you are thinking about your business, basically moving forward into December, we're saying it's a time where you can perhaps be, it's an opportunity to build some fire, to get some stuff going, to build some excitement into what you're doing, but also to be mindful of keeping calm and grounded.
Yeah. It's a bit like that saying, having a bit of fire in your belly, really. It's a bit like that. Get whatever it is you want to do, get it there, and then go for it.
So we're looking at, yes, passion. We're looking at it being dynamic, but there are temperamental sides to this as well. So don't start throwing tantrums. Don't keep one foot on the ground. keep yourself grounded, and remember to keep calm. But it's an. Are you saying? Does this mean it's like perhaps an opportunity to be thinking about new projects?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely start looking if there's anything you want to do. I know for a lot of people, December's the wrong time of the year, but if there is anything you've been meaning to do and wanting to do, now would be the time to at least get that plan into action, really, ready to, or start making plans for when you want to start that.
Is it a time maybe to be considering things that that plans that have been in the back of your mind for a while, but maybe you felt had too much risk attached to them, or you may be fearful of, or a little bit too scary? Or is this the right time or the wrong time to be thinking about moving those forward?
In a sense, it's the right time, especially if you're unsure because of the time of year. Things you can still sit there and do things like a plan of what you want to do, when you want to start. Because in that sense you're already starting that, and you've got that intention then to go forward with it. So even if it is only doing the basic planning out of it, it is definitely going to be the right time to start that.
So it's about really sort of perhaps looking at some of the dreams that you had, where things that you may have wanted to do at the start of your business, and aspirations and things that may have seemed a bit wild. And sometimes I think what happens is we start off our businesses with some fire and enthusiasm and things that we're going to do, and then along the way we listen to people, don't we?
Yeah.
We listen to people, and they sometimes plant seeds of doubt. It's too ambitious, or it's too much, or it's too big, or it's too flamboyant, and we allow sometimes people to just sort of dampen our spirit a little bit, don't we?
Yeah.
So potentially what we're saying here is this is a time really when you can start reconsidering some of those dreams that you had, maybe, and also perhaps looking at things from when you were a child. I think a lot of what we start, and when we think about running our businesses and starting our businesses, is sometimes from things that we enjoyed doing when we were children, and we've lost that creativity and that spark along the way. So coming through into December and through into the new year could be a time when we actually start rebuilding that, thinking back, what did I really enjoy doing? What would I love doing? I'm not sure what I do. I used to like reading Enid Blyton.
Yeah.
I can't really see how. I'm sure there is some sort of business idea that I could come up with, but it doesn't sound too fiery.
Well, I'm glad that my favourite Enid Blyton book was Mr. Galliano's Circus, so I'm really glad I didn't find that bit, though.
I've not read that one. I used to like The Famous Five.
It's taken me... well, my daughter's now in her early 40s, and I've literally just refound that book for my 10-year-old granddaughter, and I desperately wanted it to give to my daughter and that, and never ever found it until recently. But yeah, I don't want to be a circus performer.
So looking at, I have actually got some notes here that Kay's prepared for us. So the card actually is the Knight of Wands. So that's the card for November through to sort of towards the end of December, isn't it? And hang on, and we're also bringing in their temperance as well. So the key message here with temperance is balance, harmony and moderation. So keep yourself calm and balanced.
Yeah.
Don't, even though you may be bringing forward a dream or something along those lines, it may be really fiery, really exciting, and you may feel that you're ready to take off. There's always that bit that you need to keep that moderation in balance and actually really consider perhaps the risks that are there, and really sort of take into account everything that could be involved. And we're also looking at balance, aren't we? Balance and tranquility.
Yeah. So it is try and keep calm about what it is you want to do, rather than get all fired up. But unless that's obviously in a good way, but it should certainly have the balance and that the confidence to begin moving forward. It's a good time to start doing that.
So we've got here adventure, passion, impulsiveness and restlessness. Let's bring forward new things into our business, revitalise ideas that we had before, but let's keep that balance. Let's keep calm. Let's sort of, I quite like the word composed. Sometimes I can feel myself firing off about something, and I've got this really brilliant idea, and so this would be a perfect time to sort of maybe bring that into fruition. But sometimes then what I do is I've taken off. I've done it. I'm ringing people. I'm sending emails. I'm Facebooking people. I've set up websites. I've got. I've done all of this, but I haven't actually sat down and thought it through properly and gone through the different steps. So I don't know, I'm picturing something when we've got one arm up here and I'm taking off, and I've got the other arm down here, and I'm sort of holding on, going, actually, let's stay grounded here.
Yeah.
What else is likely to happen? Not everything can be full of joy and explosion. We have to make sure, if we're in business, that we have something that's rounded and is taking us forward in a smooth way.
Yeah. And often when you start writing things down, and whatever ideas you've got, automatically other ideas are going to come to mind as well. And even if it is things like websites and stuff like that, you can just write down a plan of action, really, and even a rough guide as to when you want to do things, you know, or when you want to achieve things by.
Because what I've found is, because I am quite impulsive, I do come up with ideas, and very often they're good ideas, but sometimes they're not the right idea at the right time, and sometimes I haven't thought through everything that actually needs to go behind it to create a solid business idea. So I'm taking off. I'm up there. The rocket launchers have gone, and I'm off.
She is. She is.
But there's other stuff that really does need to happen, sort of behind the scenes almost. And if you're not careful, you lose your impetus. So you launch your rocket, and then it's sort of, if you run out of fuel and it peters out, and you go, oh, well, never mind, eh? And before you know it, you've lost it. So sort of get your pen and paper out, get that plan in place, get stuff written down, and perhaps do. I think what this is saying, looking at what's here, I think what it's saying is you're doing your exciting stuff, you're doing your planning in December, and you're getting your plan down on paper, and then the implementation is coming through in sort of January and February into the new year.
Yeah.
And you've also done a numerological one of those, a numbers thing for us. And I think, doesn't spookily that almost sort of tie in?
Yeah, very much
with
so.
what I've just said.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
those of you who listen in regularly will know that is not intentional. That was nothing intentional behind that. But I think because we just don't plan that much. So what about numerologically speaking?
Yeah, if we there's so many aspects of it, but if we just look at what they call the universal month with numerology, it's a case of breaking down. Obviously, December's the 12th month, and then we've got 2023. So it's about breaking all that down to one digit, unless it's an 11 or a special number. But that for this year, December breaks down to the number 1, which again is all about new beginnings, moving forward, trying to balance out again what you want, but also encourage the creative side of that, the visualization, and even the originality, and then any opportunities that come along, take them as best as you can and have another look at where your life's going to go and what you want. And again, visualization for that, with a lot of people, it's a little bit like the vision boards we'd done before. If people have got pictures in their head or on anything else, they're more likely to achieve it anyway.
I think we can have a chat. We'll have a more in-depth conversation about that visualization and vision boards as we come to the cosmic ordering. Just having a look at what is written down here. One of the things that strikes me, looking at what you've written out for the numbers, which is really sort of quite extensive, is it's about leadership and making decisions as well.
Yeah.
So yes, it may be a time to look at new opportunities. So it could be a new career, it could be a new project in your business, it could be a fresh outlook on your business, but it is also about making decisions and tapping into your instincts and making decisions that empower you. But I think making decisions is one of the hardest things, and I think we don't do it enough.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we get really good ideas and we plan them all out. You know I'm talking about myself, don't you? We get really good ideas and we plan them all out, but sometimes there are some difficult decisions that sit around those. So it could be that in order to bring a new project in, we have to let an old project go.
Yeah.
We need to make a decision about that, not just let it sort of fritter out somewhere. And we may actually need to make a firm decision about bringing in a new project, when we do it, what we do it, how we do it, who we do it with. And I think sometimes, I think looking at what you've written down here, that is something that has sort of leapt off the page at me, is that yes, it's lovely to have new ideas, new ventures moving forwards, but there are decisions that need to be made, and we need to lead ourselves.
Yeah.
And not be led along by ideas and excitement.
No, and the number 1 is all about like fresh ideas, but fresh projects and things like that as well. So with those cards, it really does tie in, especially with things like business.
And it's talking about here, it's about pursuing dreams. So it could be that this is a time to start bringing together some of your dreams with your business. I think sometimes I think things that happen along the way with our business is that once again we start listening to other people, and we move away from our intuition and what we love doing, and move towards what we should be doing and what business gurus tell us we should be doing, and what business coaches, mentors and business plan templates and everything else tell us we should be doing, and we lose a little bit of ourselves and perhaps some of the dreams that we had. So looking at this, it is about, I think, trying to tap back into some of the reasons and what you love doing, and actually asking yourself those questions as part of your decision-making process moving through December. So is this do I like doing this? Do I like doing this? Is it something I enjoy? Do I get up in the morning and go, yippee, I get to do that? And I think that's what December is about. And looking at this number 1, it's about and sometimes making courageous decisions. Because sometimes if we love doing something, it seems to be the one thing that actually everybody else tells us we can't do. It's silly, you can't do that, that won't work. And sometimes, we have to look at the fact that actually it will work.
Yeah.
It will work. How can I, and ask questions, how can I make this work?
Yeah.
What needs to happen for this to work?
Yeah. And there's so many people that have got jobs and go to work because they want to. And although we all need to work, there's not a majority really that can say that they're doing what they want to be doing and moving that forward. So, and also to know that every business you've got to build up pretty much from nothing, whereas some people think they're going to, this is my plan, this is what I'm going to do, and in 3 months' time, this is where I'm going to be with that. And it doesn't work that way unless you're incredibly lucky. It doesn't work that way. So...
I'm not sure about luck. I think we create our own luck. But having a look at, I'm just pulling out more of sort of the information that's here. So under the universal month 1, it's time to trust instincts and make decisions.
Yeah.
Make decisions that empower us. It's about ambitious and drive to achieve goals, but aspirations and inspirations. I think the way that I'm reading this for me and my business is it's time to actually look at what I love doing and seeing how I can make that work. Yeah, definitely. Rather than looking at what I should be doing. Yeah. And to start and to be asking questions, how does this get better? What needs to happen for this to take place? Yeah. And actually sort of being in the question, and instead of making judgments about and listening to other people's judgments of what does and doesn't work. I think this is telling me that we all have the power this month moving through to December to actually look at what we want, look at what we would like to do, what our dreams are, and tap into our own intuition and make decisions, make firm decisions and stand by them. Yeah. And in some ways, when you look at it, and it did happen with me and you through that chat through COVID, where it's right under your nose, but you don't always realise it's right under your nose. Yes, that's very true, isn't it? Sometimes it's also about taking a step back and having a look and reevaluating and seeing who's there. And sorry, now my woo-woo side's coming out. It's no good, it can't be hidden. And having a look and seeing what the universe is sending you, because sometimes it sends you clues and you just ignore them, but it keeps sending them again. And then if you're not careful, it's going to sort of slap you around the face and head with them. But actually taking time to sit back and think, actually, who's calling me? Who's helping me? Who or what is happening that may not be just a complete accident? What keeps turning back up? What are the themes? What keeps reappearing all the time? Yeah. And I'm ignoring it. That sort of thing. Yeah. So, this is going to be really quite an exciting time, isn't it? Because we're moving into the new year, and I think everybody gets that sort of impetus in the new year, don't they? This is a fresh time anyway. But it looks as though, and I'm not sure about this, but it looks as though what we're seeing in numbers and cards and astrology is actually sort of backing that up this time. It is. And saying, this is your opportunity for new. This is your opportunity to perhaps revisit your reasons for starting. Yeah. And make some firm decisions. And I'm going to say on your own about this. Make your own decisions. You can get other people's opinions, but you don't want their judgment. So discuss it, but really I think what this is saying is it's your responsibility to actually make that decision. It's got to be, yeah. And if you've got other people, it could be partners, it could be children, it could be friends, it could be whoever, who are actually putting their oar in and creating doubt, so that you sort of need to tell them to leave. Yeah, politely, yeah. Yes. Yeah. And sit in your own intuition for a while and see what it is where you want to go. Yeah, and sometimes, unfortunately, we do take on board what everybody says, and although that's something we all do, sometimes you take it on too much.
and can easily talk yourself back out of something that you'd really wanted to do.
I think there's a big difference between getting other people's opinions but accepting other people's judgments.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, just because somebody says, well, that won't work, doesn't mean it won't. That's their opinion. That's what they think. That's based on their experience and also their prejudices, their expectations, and everything else that they have in the crap that we all have in their heads about what may or may not happen.
Yeah.
And I think it takes a lot of guts to sort of stand there. And I think you need to put your really big girl pants on to sort of stand there and go against what everybody else is saying, especially when they're giving you unwanted advice, ringing you up and going, you know, when are you going to pull yourself together? When are you going to start behaving like everybody else? When are you going to stop doing this silly stuff? You know, when are you going to get a proper job?
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
And at the moment, I think more and more women are going into business, and on the spiritual and holistic side especially. A few years ago we wouldn't have had that or seen that much of that. So
no, actually, I was having a discussion about just this thing actually yesterday, about how for quite some time I tried to keep the two sides of my personality and my business apart, thinking who would want to buy a website from somebody who does woo-woo things. And the truth is that who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares? If you don't want to buy something like well, we'll call it a strict business thing from me, because I do some spiritual stuff, I might talk about consciousness, then you probably just need to, you're not the right customer. Because I do that doesn't mean that if you're a doctor or a mechanic, I can't put together a good website. In fact, I can probably put together a better website because I can sort of get into your head and find out really sort of what's going on. But if you make those sorts of decisions based on something you find out about somebody that isn't dishonest, it's not illegal, does something nasty or horrible to anybody, then you're probably not my customer. And that you need to sort of own absolutely everything and everybody that you are and how you feel. And just not worry about what other people think.
I used to hide this side of me.
Okay.
Until a few years ago, and I just thought, well, it's part of me, people need to know this, and if I hadn't have done that, then I would never have started the business.
What were you doing when you were hiding it? So what who were you hiding it from?
So I'm a teacher as well, and years ago at school I used to hide it from people that I used to work with, because you just don't know how people are gonna. So
what age group do you teach, and what do you teach?
So I'm primary school,
right?
So the young ones. But it was more the people that I worked with. I get that it wasn't the school children, that it was that it was the other teachers and governors and whatever else. So what subject do you teach? Everything.
Oh, of course, they're primary. Yes, silly me. Right, okay. So were you, at the time when you were trying to hide this, were you hiding another business that you were operating, or was it just the way that you felt?
No, it was just the way that I felt and like the hobbies that I would do. So, go to spiritual groups and things like that. I didn't really tell anyone about it until one day I just thought, I need to tell people because this is really me. This is the way I am. So it's such a big part of my life. And once I started telling people, everyone was so accepting. And I think they just knew that was me anyway. Like it fitted.
And I think, I'm not sure that it's about telling everybody. I think it's just about not hiding it. So I don't go and tell people things about my life that, I don't walk into a room and like do an announcement. By the way, I go to this as well. I don't make announcements, but I don't hide it. It's actually about feeling that you don't have to hide it, and that if somebody says to you, "Oh, what are you doing at the weekend?" You've got a choice. You can say, "Actually, mind your own business." Anyway, but you can say, "I go to a spiritual church, and I go there on Saturday night," and not feeling that you have to sort of make up something else and stutter.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like there was one time I was going away for a week and it was to this spiritual like mediumship thing a week away, and at first I just started to tell people it was a yoga retreat, and then in the end,
because that's okay, isn't it?
Yeah. In the end, because it was so good and I was so excited, I remember just telling a lady at work and was just like, well, actually this is what I did, and then she reacted really well, and then I just thought, right, that's it.
And I mean, we probably could expand upon this in another show, but we maybe talk about it now, because I think there's an awful lot of business people who have part two of themselves that they're hiding, which is what they would really rather be doing. And I'm going to recommend a book for this, actually. It's by a guy called Stephen Pressfield, and it's called Do the Work. I'm sure that's it. It's definitely Stephen Pressfield. He's an author. But Do the Work is not one of his fiction books. It is one of his, what would we call it, non-fiction textbooks. And it's about people who may actually be quite high-powered. So they have really good careers. They could be doctors, lawyers, teachers, politicians, whatever. But that's not what they should be doing. That high-powered career is a distraction from the creative side of themselves. And what they should be are artists, writers, spiritual teachers. Doesn't really matter. They've masked their true path with another successful path. And I think that may be a relevant reading, and I think it's possibly sort of what you're talking about as well. It's hiding this other bit. Why? I don't know. I did exactly the same thing, so it's not a criticism. It's like, and I don't know if it's because I've got older, that I think, actually, who gives a toss?
Yeah.
If you don't like it,
exactly,
go away.
Yeah. But most people love hearing about it all, you know.
So we've got this in our heads because we haven't actually asked anybody, and I think sometimes it can be little things where we're growing up, where there have been little judgments, where it may not even be about you. But somebody's, well, she's just a witch, isn't she? Or she's really weird, or they're just mucking about, or that's a stupid hobby. Things that we've heard as we're growing up, which then make us assume that other people are going to judge what we're doing, and we don't want that judgment. Yeah. So how did it feel after you'd sort of said, actually, this is what I do?
Yeah, it felt really good, and because the lady was really interested, and then I just felt like a weight had gone off my shoulders.
Yeah.
And I, like you said, I don't go around just telling people, oh,
by the way, I'm a bit weird.
Yeah, but if I was doing something at the weekend, and they say, oh, what are you doing at the weekend? I'd be able to say, oh, I'm going to this, or I'm like, you know, I'm going to learn about Reiki. And because even back then when I learned about Reiki, it was a bit like, what's that? Oh, energy, oh, that's a bit weird. But people now just, it was literally like I could just be myself.
And that, I think, it just makes a massive difference, isn't it? Because I think sometimes also, if you're not being yourself, if there's a part of you that you're not revealing for whatever reason, or you're trying to, you know, you're sort of trying to hide it in conversations, if somebody's asking you, you know, if one of the other teachers is asking you about stuff, or somebody's asking me about my digital business, is that you can come across as being a bit, you're not authentic, or there's something a bit dishonest about what you're doing, and you're not doing anything that's going to hurt anybody, but you're just not telling the truth. And I think sometimes I don't think people can distinguish between not telling the truth because you're trying to hide something that's really quite innocent, and not telling the truth because you're trying to hide something that isn't innocent, that's actually quite dishonest and could potentially hurt them.
Yeah.
And so, I just think, let it all hang out.
Yeah, you choose yourself.
But we hear these things, don't we? And they sound a bit sort of trite, but it is absolutely true.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you can do anything else.
No.
And the relief when I just said, actually, do you know, I'll tell you what, if you don't like that, don't buy digital stuff from me, because that's just who I am. And there will be people out there that will like that and that do like that. So that's my take on it. We've gone right off track, haven't we?
Yeah.
I've been pontificating. Where were we? We were going to talk about cosmic ordering, weren't we?
We was.
Now, cosmic ordering, that sounds a bit weird, doesn't it? But it isn't really, is it?
No.
We sort of do that sort of thing all the time. I've just thought of what I think potentially is it's not a perfect example of cosmic ordering, but it may be something that helps us understand it. So it's when you're looking for a car. So you've decided that you're going to buy a particular make of car or a particular colour of car. And then wherever you go, you see that thing. And it's because that's what you're focused on.
Yeah.
You're thinking, there aren't any more white Hondas on the road than there were the day before. Honda hasn't suddenly sort of launched Pentachnicons in the UK of white Hondas. It's just that you're focused on it and that's what you're seeing.
Yeah.
Now, that isn't strictly it, is it? But that is sort of an idea about how we sort of do this sort of thing and we bring things to us.
Yeah. And a lot of ordinary everyday people, I think when they first heard about it, or when I certainly first heard about it, it was because Noel Edmonds had been on a course for it, and then he was talking about it, and then he wrote a book on it.
Did he?
Yeah, and it was really, really, he was really into it for quite a while. So...
did something go wrong?
I don't know, to be honest. I don't know.
Because we don't see him a lot now, do we? But that could be perfectly his choice.
Yeah.
You know, he had a big time, didn't he?
Yeah.
And perhaps now is his time where he's relaxing. So
it could well be. No,
I did not know that.
Now. No, I literally, as soon as I started talking, I was like, oh, yeah, that is where I first heard about it. But and he was trying to explain that on some of his shows, but it was quite a few years ago. And a lot of the time he was getting shut down or people not agreeing and didn't understand what he was trying to talk about wasn't just understanding, they weren't really even encouraging it to ask him what he meant by it or anything else. So that goes back to a bit of what you were saying about being shot down with it, really.
I think it's because it looks and sounds weird, doesn't it? If you only look at what's in front of you, literally directly in front of you, and you never think laterally or go anywhere else, and we're so busy that sometimes that's difficult. Yeah. You know, we get on this path, and yet there's an awful lot of stuff that people do accept. An awful lot of people accept the Bible, for instance.
Yeah.
And we'll look at phrases like seek, and is it seek and ye shall find?
Yeah.
And all of this sort of thing. Well, that's basically cosmic ordering.
It is, yeah.
And yet people won't necessarily challenge something that they've heard in the Bible. And I wonder if this is about, we're familiar with these sorts of phrases in certain contexts.
Yeah.
We're familiar with ideas in certain contexts, but once we go outside of that, where we may have been brought up with stuff or we're used to seeing it, be it on the telly or whatever, and we start talking about it in a slightly different context, then it becomes weird and stupid, and we're mad.
Yeah, definitely.
But all of this sort of thing is actually, it's within our realm of experience already.
Yeah.
All we're doing is doing it consciously, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Because I think it also happens in cars, for instance, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If you're, I remember being taught when I was drive that if you go into a skid, your instinct is to look at where you don't want to go, like the wall, and you hit the thing. What you need to do is actually look away from it, is to look where you do want to go, not where you don't want to go.
Yeah.
And so you will avoid the wall and actually go in that direction, but that's actually quite hard to do.
Yeah.
But that's really what we're talking about. This stuff works in our everyday life, isn't it? Look at where you want to go, and that's where you go.
Yeah. And at some point you're going to get there. Me and you had that with that conversation when I said what it was I was doing, and then you said what you'd always wanted to do, and we just sat there and it was like, oh, it wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because I'd said for years that's what I'd been doing, and you said that's what you'd always wanted, and this is to do with the courses.
Right. Okay. So that actually sort of brings me into something that I thought we were going to discuss further on in the cosmic ordering conversation, which is actually recognising that what you want or what you're looking for. And I'm always a bit careful about the word want, because want means you want it, not that you've got it, not that it's on its way. But if you keep saying I want this and I want this and I want this, you're actually going to be wanting it forever. At some point, you have to start changing your language and bringing it towards you. But I think the hardest thing is actually recognising that what you're looking for has actually arrived, because it doesn't always arrive wrapped up in a great big bow, does it?
No.
And it also doesn't arrive brand new sometimes. So it's not that somebody or something suddenly arrives in your life dressed up like a big gift, with the qualifications, the knowledge, the ideas, or whatever, or the amount of money, or whatever it is that you want. Things don't happen like that. You don't go, ha, oh, well, there we are then. There's my gift of £1 million. Thank you so much. Yeah. Sometimes they just sort of slide in quite quietly.
Yeah.
And there's a silly little conversation and we rush off and leave it and we're done, and that's it, and we don't think about it, and they come back in again, they slide in from a different direction, we have another little conversation, and then we go off and we forget about it. And sometimes it's about actually sort of reflecting and going, oh, actually, hang on a moment, this person keeps reappearing and keeps offering and doing, and you know, we've got this stuff going on, and they've spoke about that, and I quite like that. And actually recognising that this person is delivering what it is that you are trying to achieve and where you're heading for.
Yeah.
So let's get a little bit further into the cosmic ordering. So basically, in a nutshell, if you can do that, what is it?
It's about putting out there really what you want, not necessarily what you need, and without greed as well, because then that's not, you could, if you said, oh, I want to win the lottery, and that's all you're going to go on about, you're not going to win the lottery. But basically it is put it out there what you want. You can write it down, put it in an envelope. So if, for instance, you wanted your own business and you wanted that within 12 months and earning a certain amount of money so you could actually live rather than, say, do self-employed and a job, in that sense, you put it out there, but then you don't keep expecting it every day or every month. When you've put it out there for that year, it's gradual. You'll find you're working towards that.
But there's a difference, isn't there, between keep going on and nagging, if you like, about what it is you want to arrive, and keeping an eye out for it, for when little bits of clues pop up. That's very, very different, isn't it?
Yeah. And you do need to go with your gut instincts a lot of the time with that. But generally it does work. It does work. It's just a case of put it out there, but don't keep going on about it. You know, and some people are like at it it hasn't happened yet. It hasn't happened yet. And if you're thinking that way, it's never going to happen.
Because you're moaning, aren't you?
Yeah, basically, yeah. So it'd never happen.
I read somewhere about this recently, where using this sort of thing is think about what it is as like a lover or a person. And so, I don't know, let's say you wanted, or you wanted to create a certain amount of money within your business, and every day you're going, well, it's not here yet, is it? Look how much there is in there. You know, oh, crap, that's no good, is it? That's not enough. Effectively, if you think about that as a person, what you're doing is moaning about what they have done.
Yeah.
So, you know, they've only bought you £100 instead of 100,000, and instead of saying thanks ever so much, you go, well, where's the rest of it?
Yeah.
And that you're forever, well, where are you? Why haven't you done this yet? Why hasn't that happened? Look, I've sent that out and nothing's happened. You haven't come back. That person would actually be going, I'll tell you what, sweetheart, I think I've had enough of this.
Yeah.
You know, and it would be like continuously sending texts to somebody that you were going out with and wanted more affection from. And what you're doing is, hello, where are you? Why haven't you come back? I've been asking and you're not here. You know, how fast would they be running? You've gone from actually affection and caring into stalking, haven't you?
Yeah. And it is also in a little bit of a different way. You get, don't you, some people. And in my line of work, I often get, are they going to put a ring on my finger? Are they going to do? And again, It's a constant thing, and if they're saying that to somebody they don't know, what are they saying to someone that they
and
do
even
know?
if they're not saying it, what are those vibes that they're putting out? Every time you go out for a meal, it's is there a diamond ring under the steak? And people people aren't daft. Even if they don't know exactly what's going on, they know something that's going on. So it's about actually, I don't like this, being grateful for what you've got, but actually not moaning about what turns up. If you let's just say you want money. If you've said, okay, I'm looking for, I want to bring £100,000 into my business, and £100 turns up, and all you do is moan. If you can't be grateful, and that isn't a criticism. Sometimes it is difficult to be grateful. If you can't, don't moan. At least say thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you. What about one other thing that, I don't know, just occurred to me, is about actually being really quite definite about what it is that you're looking for, in so much as you also say you're quite clear about what you don't want to come with that. So you might want £100,000 to come into your business, but you don't want a client that behaves like this. Or it may just what is it that you do and you don't want? You might want a lovely car, a brand new car that does X, Y, and Z, but you don't want something that's a real gas guzzler, or you don't want an electric, or whatever it is. You're actually quite clear about both sides of it.
You do need to be clear on what it is that you want.
Right, because sometimes with good comes not so good.
And again, some people would say, oh, any old car will do, as long as it's a car, but then you could then end up with a car that in a week's time isn't really working because it's any old car.
So you need to be quite specific, and I think sometimes people restrict themselves to just asking for like the basics. If they haven't got a car, they're asking for the real basics. But actually, why can't they ask for a car that's really fun to drive? Why can't they ask for a sports car? Why can't they ask for something that's really going to fit into their lives and what they want to do? There's nothing that says we have to. We can have this, but a bit of me's got to suffer.
Because if you're going to suffer again, you're not going to get it.
Well, I can have the car, but I'm not going to enjoy it because it's going to be like a really miserable car. So it's about really getting quite specific. Now, you were talking about visualization and vision boards, and about how that can actually help us to get that sort of clarity. So I think a lot of people know what vision boards are, visualization, but can you sort of explain how you build them and how you help your students build them?
I always advise to look for pictures of what they want, partly because seeing something is putting it there a lot more. I do also ask them to bring in the other senses. What would it feel like to have that, do that kind of thing? Even hear people talking about something to do with it. And you can write words or print out words and put them on there as well. Part of the reason I suggest pictures is I always say stick them all on a bit of paper and perhaps, for instance, put it on the fridge. Partly because you're in the fridge in and out all day, so every time you're going to the fridge, you're looking at what you want. And it sort of just keeps on reinforcing that this is what you want, this is what you're going to get.
And it becomes part of your everyday. So perhaps if you want to swap your husband or your partner, you've got them crossed out, and you've got like the new model there, perhaps not on the fridge, maybe.
Perhaps not on the fridge, not for anybody else to see in that sense, no. But no, that works really well, and a lot of people, when they've gone away and done that, have always said, actually, that is a really good place. The other bit you could do is stick it on the table in front of you, I suppose, or on a door that you're constantly
or maybe take a picture of it and put it on your phone, or have it as your screensaver. I think a decision needs to be made about whether it's private or not. If there's something in there that you think somebody else may be judging, that, and you're not feeling able to go, actually, that is what I want, so go away. In polite words, mind your own business. it may well be that you actually do want to keep that to yourself for the time being. Sometimes there are just things that you don't want to explain, but you don't want the conflict of not explaining either. So I think you need to make that decision, don't you?
Yeah, yeah.
I think one of the biggest things, though, is about deciding what you do want. And I'm really quite conscious about using that word want, because if you want something, you want it, you haven't got it.
Yeah.
But I'll put that out there because that's just my own little pedantic word thing, and we'll carry on having a normal conversation. But actually deciding what you do want, because we have constraints around that sometimes, don't we?
Yeah.
We have beliefs and things that sort of almost like stop our brains going for it.
Yeah, yeah. And some people think they're not worthy of it, in a sense, as much as they sort of want something or need something, and this is what they'd really like to do. A lot of people, especially if they've got low self-esteem, low confidence, and that maybe even grown up being made to feel like that, they might put it out there, but they're already decided they're not going to get it because things like that don't happen, or they're not good enough, or other things as well, really.
So they've got this wish, if you like, and that's what it is. It's a wish, but there's already a boundary around it, or a barrier as to why it can't happen.
Yeah.
And sometimes people may not be aware of that, because it could be something that's happened when something that was said to them or they saw when they were a child. So how can we sort of overcome that and almost like release ourselves to all of the possibilities?
Often it's a bit of a realisation, really. Often they'd perhaps just think that was perfectly normal, and then start wondering why things weren't happening, or realise that I'm doing this as a thought, but then that's coming in as a thought. So it's almost like they're telling themselves they're good enough, and then they're telling themselves they're not. And in a way, a lot of people, when they're telling themselves they're not, in a negative way in their head, they're telling themselves they're not going to do it or get it, because if they don't say it, someone else will.
So they're butting themselves.
Yeah.
It would be brilliant to have this, but
yeah,
I think it's difficult to recognise that you're doing that.
Yeah,
is one thing, and I'm trying to think of different ways that perhaps that can be overcome. I think sometimes getting yourself into a new space, which is why I'm quite keen on going and working in cafes. I think you have a better chance of actually letting stuff go when you're in a fresh space, when you're on your own, when you're asking questions.
Yeah.
What's going to prevent this? So if you're saying I'd like to be Richard Branson, well, what's going to prevent this from happening? Actually, why? How can you make this happen?
Yeah.
How is this person any different to you? Well, they're not really, are they? They've just looked at things in a different way. Well, you can look at those things in a different way as well. So I think the first step is to get yourself out of a place where you may be used to thinking in a particular way, or you've got somebody who may be looking over your shoulder, maybe judging something, who's going to crush your butterfly, and generally make sure that it doesn't happen for you.
Yeah.
And just sort of ask the questions. How can this happen? How can I make this happen?
Yeah. Yeah. And it is a limiting belief in that sense that, and some people, they do need to get to the realisation where it may be that they need some kind of therapy to help them get through. But there may be, just by realising it themselves, that they can come to their own conclusions on that and then decide to act on it.
So, but step one, get what you want, or what where it is you think you're heading, or you want to head, your dreams out on something, out into the world, so that you can look at them. It's almost like solidifying them, isn't it? It's about getting clear about them and stopping them just being this sort of mess of stuff racing around your head. And actually getting it out and getting it into, I think getting it into some sort of order. So that you can see exactly where you're going. Instead of it being a pile of old waffly crap, sort of dipping in and out of your head all the time.
Yeah.
Get it out so that you can see it. And I think maybe keep it to just a few.
Yeah.
Real clear ones. Because I think the other thing is that sometimes you'll find that they're linked together.
Yeah.
That one dream is actually linked to another one and another one and another one, and they're actually a linear, they're actually almost sort of like a progression. And I think sometimes when you get them out on paper and you get some clarity around them, you can see, actually, this is all the same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
It can take years to get there.
Yeah, it can.
You do have to wait.
That's it. And it's about not expecting everything to fall into your lap straight away either. If you go a couple of months and you want to start your own business and you've started it, even if you're not earning any money, you've started your business. And then a few months down the line, it is okay to put, well, actually, I'd like to earn this amount of money a month and make sure it's a reasonable amount to start with, because every business, if it's going to work, it builds. So
I think the other thing that I'm getting with the cosmic ordering is that it's an ongoing process, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not I've put that there and I've put that there and I'm just going to forget about it, but you are actually you are looking at it as a longer term thing. If you ask for £1 million and it hasn't arrived by tomorrow, it's no good throwing all your toys out the pram. The £1 million might arrive, but it might arrive in 10 years' time.
Yeah, that's it. It is. And people tend to want things yesterday as well.
So, cosmic ordering, closing, get really clear on what it is that you are looking for and what it is that you are not looking for with that. Get it out in the open so that you can see it. Actually, get some words around it as well.
Yeah.
Get some words around it, and be really open to how something is arriving, and sort of look at what's coming towards you, look at patterns that are coming towards you, look at things that keep turning up, ideas that keep turning up. They may be coming in from different sources, different people may be saying actually pretty much the same thing to you.
Yeah. You
may be getting the same word in your head all the time and just completely ignoring it, and that can go on for years, can't it?
Yeah, it can be.
Until finally the penny drops. The penny drops and you realise that actually the cosmos, if like, has been sending you this stuff all along. You just have to recognise it.
Yeah.
Right then. Okay. I think we're going to draw it to a close there. So Kay Best, who is now going to be with us as co-host and bringing all of, I'm not going to call it woo-woo, but I think sometimes we need to have a little bit of humour around this. Going to be bringing the more spiritual side of our business to the airwaves once a month for us to review. Thank you, Emma, so much for taking part in this part of the show and giving us some ideas about how, especially hiding bits of you affected you. And we will be back very, very shortly, where we are going to be talking about starting and running your own holistic business. We will see you very soon.
Tune in next week to the Women in Business radio show for more stories, ideas and inspiration to help you grow your business.